For someone who makes so many mistakes in life, I surprisingly don't have that many regrets. Hiya, I'm a semi-minimalist, which means I'm extremely minimalistic in some aspects of life and a lot less in others. But today I wanted to really think about the things that I have bought in general and see which ones of those I would not be repurchasing if I had the chance to go back and do things again, just in case they might help someone else with their sort of like planning, or who's planning to go more towards minimalism, purchase a lot less things, or just not make the same mistakes that I have. So let's get started. The very first thing on that list is my Mac computer, and I say this with absolutely no regrets. I do not care. That was the worst purchase I have ever made, I think, in general. I say this absolutely loving Apple products. I think they're great. I have the whole ecosystem thing, but this Mac in particular is absolutely terrible. It's not that fast. It's not that special. I should have definitely got a screen which I could have connected to my computer, but at the time I did not know this was a thing. I just wanted a good computer to work with at home and kind of make my university notes and stuff, and I didn't have a good laptop at the time, so I thought, oh, I'll use my iPad and a computer, which in retrospect was a very silly decision. I think the screen is big and I love something with a big screen, but I almost never use this computer in general. I use it just in the cases that I can afford getting frustrated with how badly it works, and I just hope that I can replace it at some point. For that money, absolutely not worth it, would not recommend it. The second thing I regret buying is going out clothes. These are the sorts of clothes that you can't wear every single day and are a bit more appropriate for kind of special events or parties, or in my case, any sort of clothes which are not black immediately fall into this category. And I think this all comes from a place of me wanting to be a bit more normal and kind of go out a bit more and think, oh, if I had the clothes, I would want to do this. That's definitely not the case for me at all. These clothes end up just sitting in my wardrobe until I decide to throw them out. I don't feel comfortable in them, so I never wear them, and they do not incentivize me at all to want to go out in general. I think I just have to kind of accept the sort of clothes that look good on my body and the sort of clothes that I am comfortable with, which tend to be the more kind of modest, minimalistic clothing in general. So yep, I think I've just given up on trying to be more out there and more fashionable with the clothes that I wear, and just stick to things that I feel kind of good in. Also, after buying these sort of clothes, I realized that the reason that I don't go out and hang out is probably different to my lack of clothes in general. So yeah, I just wish that I would have not gone down this quite expensive path of accumulating so many clothes over the years that I just keep throwing out again and again because I absolutely never wear. So I would just recommend, for going out clothes, it might be better to have them be kind of event specific and have something in mind when you're shopping for these sorts of clothes, which I definitely do now. And also I try to buy things that are not kind of one-time purchases or things that I can wear only once, but things that I can kind of repurpose and wear in different cases too. The third thing that I regret buying is my camera, and this is not the camera that I'm filming on right now. That's absolutely great, and I love it. But before I had this camera, back when I was 19, so ages and ages ago, I bought another camera, and this was around the time that I thought, oh, I want to be into photography. I think this might, you know, really tie into my loving of art things, and I definitely did love photography and filming. I'd just never done it before, so I thought the solution to this would be to get a professional camera. This was a very bad idea. I have probably used that camera twice. I ended up just like gifting it to my sister because I still don't use it in general, and it's just not the good way to go about things. And this is definitely the learning that I got because of making this mistake has kind of stayed with me still, in that whenever I think that I want to start a project or start a hobby or start something up, I will always use what I have first. So for example, now if I thought that, oh, I want to get into photography, okay, Elizabeth, pick up your iPhone and take pictures. You don't need to buy a professional camera to do that first. And that kind of definitely reflected with my YouTube channel, because even after I knew that I was going to take YouTube seriously, I still used my iPhone for the first 3 or 4 months, I think. So I would not upgrade until I absolutely can justify it, because then I just end up having expensive equipment which I never use. And on top of that, I think this is the reason that I don't like photography anymore, is because I have so much kind of frustration with myself with remembering, oh my god, that really expensive piece of equipment that you never used, photography is not for you. While if I think I would have just taken it a bit slower and kind of eased into it more, then I don't think this dramatic situation would have happened at all. So I think my camera is a good representation of try things out first, make sure that you're actually passionate about something before investing a whole lot of money into it and realizing that you don't like this thing at all and don't want to do anything with it. The fourth thing I regret buying breaks my heart. It is books. Now, I just need to be very specific. I don't regret buying books in general, or reading any books. I'm definitely grateful for every book I've ever read, but I do regret buying physical books. And the reason for this was kind of similar. I promised myself that I wouldn't get myself a Kindle because I just love reading physical books so much. It's just, I feel like I can read them slower when they're not digital and therefore enjoy them a lot more. And it's a whole experience, just like flipping the page and everything. And it's just so romantic and so lovely. And I don't think a Kindle can compare to that at all. I think when I read on a Kindle, it's much more kind of work and informational, rather when I read a physical book, it's a whole experience. However, physical books accumulate so fast. Although they're not individually quite heavy, when you put them all in a bag, they tend to be extremely heavy. And because I move house year on year, and sometimes I have to travel internationally, I have to carry these huge like luggage bags full of books by themselves because I don't want to throw them away because I'm so attached to them. I have my notes on them, so it just becomes a complete disaster. I think that I should have accepted that until I am settled down in my own house, I should only buy Kindle books, which is unfortunately what I am doing right now. I only buy books online and they're either audiobooks or Kindle books, but I no longer buy physical books anymore. I just have the ones that I used to have in the past, and actually moving to this house, I had to kind of donate half of my books because it was just too many and I couldn't carry them around anymore. So yep, that's very heartbreaking. I would say don't put yourself in that position if you know you don't have a stable place to stay and to keep pure books in general. I think digital books are the way to go for a while, more than just buying and gifting them, which is what I've also done. So yeah, that would be my recommendation. The next thing is makeup. Similar to clothes, I feel as though I don't really know what I'm doing when it comes to makeup. There's only this makeup look that I know how to do and absolutely nothing else. Currently, I have a very minimalistic makeup collection and I don't actually buy different types of things. I think now I, for example, don't own an eyeshadow palette because I know I can't use eyeshadow and I probably wouldn't wear it anyway. So I tend to be very minimalistic with the makeup that I buy, but I do regret in the past thinking that, oh, maybe this will make me look better or I can try this thing out. And although that's absolutely great, it usually ended up being things that I didn't use or didn't wear. So now in general, I always have one thing of each. And when I finish that, I can kind of try a new one or try something else. The only exception to that is red lipstick, which is kind of like this special thing for me. But otherwise, I have a very minimalistic makeup collection and I do regret buying all these different shades of lipstick or like different sort of foundations for different events. I think I just use the same thing every day and it works out better for me and it saves me a lot of money in the long term because yep, there's an expiration date on makeup and I don't tend to ever kind of finish them otherwise. The next thing are needy plants, and the thing is I wanted to fill this void in my life, which is the desire to have a dog. I'm actually dying to get a dog. I cannot wait to be settled enough to have one in my life. So I thought I would kind of replace that with plants because they look nice and I need to take care of them. I think the difference there is plants do not give you as much love or nearly as much love as animals do. And even like, it's a completely different sort of species. Let's just leave it at that. So I think I'm happy to have plants, but those that need a lot of work, like those that need repotting or changing or just like turning around towards the sun and too much water or too little water, or just have issues with that, I think I don't find those as much fun to take care of in general. And therefore I think kind of fake plants, even though they're not that pretty to look at and I don't love them as much as I love my real plants, I think they're slightly the better direction. So I think unless you actually have a green thumb and you want to invest in plants in general, I would love to have a little vegetable garden at some point, maybe with tomatoes and things that are easy to grow. But when it comes to needy plants in general, I don't think they were the right purchase for me. I've spent a few £100s on them and they're not looking too good right now. So sadly, I think I just make plants die, so I should not dabble in that anymore. The next thing I regret buying are low quality items, and I've always heard this: buy cheap, buy twice. And I think it's incredibly true. I think this is very difficult just because sometimes I literally have not had the money to buy the higher quality version of something, so I need to get the lower quality version of it too. And I think there's a lot of nuance here. Not everything needs to be high quality or the best quality, depending on how often you use it, depending on kind of the difference in things. And sometimes you can find absolutely great items for a lower price or that are used before. But I think in general, I have regretted the times that I have bought things which are mostly kind of clothes or cutlery or pots and pans that have not been of a very high quality, just because then it really, really affects me in general. So I'm wearing something that rips while I'm outside, or I'm cooking something that doesn't taste as well, or the pan just like scratches the first time that I use it. I tested this out with my coat. I got a very nice Burberry coat, I think 3 or 4 winters ago, and I've been wearing that coat every single day all winter for 4 years, and it looks absolutely fine. So I think that's the kind of route that I want to go down, and have pieces that I absolutely love that are of high quality and I can use them again and again. And I definitely regret buying cheaper coats which I've just had to gift or like throw away because I'm not using them anymore. They look terrible after a few wears. And the last thing I regret buying are home decorations. This is for 2 reasons. The first one is because I am actually by nature a bit minimalistic. I really frustrate my mom because every time I go over to their house, I'm like, oh my god, there's so much things here, let me redecorate. And I end up just shoving everything in a box and being like, you need to throw this away. And they all say, no, we love these things. I just love empty surfaces and things to be quite like clean and empty. That's a lot more pleasing, I think, to my mind. And I love bits of art here and there, and plants. I love plants, so that's kind of my aesthetic. And having a cluttered environment just stresses me out. So I think that's kind of the direction that I naturally go down. But I do love and appreciate nice pieces of art, so little sculptures or little things around the house that I sometimes see. I think, and by little, actually, most of them are usually quite large, but I see them online and I think, oh, I really would want that. That would look so good in this corner or that corner. And very rarely have I actually bought pieces for my home, but I don't actually own any of them anymore because having to move around so much, I end up having to leave them where I am or just kind of gifting them to the Red Cross or something like that. So I definitely regret buying home decorations because I'm still not settled and can't stay where I'm staying. And I think also, if I add the fact that I get really, really attached to my things, I literally get quite emotional about them. So letting go of them is very, very difficult for me to do. So actually the pleasure of seeing them for a year is less than the pain of me having to let go of these things. So I think for me, I'm definitely not the sort of person who can manage that sort of situation. So I think it's better for me not to buy home decorations at all, which is what I'm currently doing, and keep it at plants only and essentials, and not have kind of nicer things in the house, because then I will have to let them go when I leave this place, and I don't want to do that. So yeah, those were 8 things that I regret buying. This was definitely quite challenging for me to do. I have another video on the benefits of minimalism in general if you would like to check it out. But otherwise, thank you so much for spending this time with me. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Be kind to yourself and others, and don't believe everything you think. Thanks. Bye.